Wouldn't you like to pause from your busy day and listen in to experts and homeschool parents like you about the beautiful world of homeschooling? This podcast is designed just for you. Each episode connects you to the best conversations that will give you courage and fill your cup so you can keep pouring into your family every single day. Introducing the Hey Mama Homeschool Show, brought to you by the Old Schoolhouse, your trusted homeschool partner for over 20 years.
Hi, everyone. Heather here with the Old Schoolhouse. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of the Hey Mama Homeschool Show. For today's topic, is internet learning a good thing? What are my options? I will be joined by someone with a strong presence in the online education space, Cailin Sandvig. Cailin has spent her career working to proliferate quality resources for homeschool children and home educators, ensuring their voice is heard and their needs are met in EdTech. At Age of Learning, she helps to shape Homeschool Plus as a curriculum to meet the unique needs of homeschool families. Cailin's passionate love of learning was instilled by her own mother, and her most important job is passing it along to her 4-year-old twins. Thank you so much for joining me today, Cailin.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Heather.
So, Cailin, before we dive into this topic of online learning, can you please share a little about yourself?
Yes, of course. So as you already mentioned, I'm a mother of twins. I live in Utah with them and my husband, Justin, and our very sweet but not so bright dog, Jeremy. I have been working in education or ed tech, I should say, for about 13 years now, and I've been exclusively in the homeschool world since 2018. And I've been really excited to be at Age of Learning, where we've been very purpose building a curriculum to meet the unique needs of homeschool families and make sure that we are supporting home educators.
That is wonderful. I love that. I was wondering if you could share with us, when it comes to home education, I don't know if you've noticed, but parents are often concerned that there will be gaps in their child's education. What do you see as the best approach towards education to effectively prevent those gaps?
So I've absolutely noticed that. And it's honestly a concern that I have myself with my own children. But we are currently living in incredible times where technology can support education in general and home education specifically like never before. Before we sort of explore the approach of ensuring your child has no gaps in their knowledge, let's delve into the architecture of understanding a little bit. So when your child grasps a concept, they connect it to their existing knowledge. And their understanding builds gradually over time, with each new understanding relying on previous ones. As they move through a series of experiences and lessons, their knowledge travels in a straight line across the top of a structure as they build new understandings. And these understandings depend not only on recent lessons, but everything they've learned throughout their lives, all of the sort of blocks, if you will. At least that's the way it would work in a perfect world, right? But we know that learning doesn't follow a straight path. Rather, it's a network of a multitude of ideas and concepts joining together to create full comprehension, where each block must be filled to gain true mastery of a subject. So this goes back to the original question: how can we peer into our child's mind to discern what they genuinely understand and what they've yet to grasp? Which blocks need filling? And once those blocks are identified, how do we offer the right instruction just before the point where they missed a crucial concept, skill, or ability and ensure their learning is complete? And this is where adaptive technology can support home education like never before.
That's really good, because I think a lot of parents definitely struggle because they might ask their child a question assuming that their child knows the answer, And then they're shocked to find out, oh, they never learned this. And then they start to feel that mom guilt. Oh, no, I never taught them this. But really, there is no shame in that. You just have to address that. And I love how you likened it to, to blocks that, okay, maybe there's a block that needs to be filled that they haven't learned, but we can absolutely address those. And you mentioned the terminology adaptive technology. What exactly is that? And what value does it hold for home educators to help fill in these gaps?
So adaptive technology at its core is technology that uses data to tailor the learning experience to each individual child. And there are several key factors of adaptive learning technology. The first is personalization, where data about a child's strengths and weaknesses and progress is utilized to create a custom learning pathway unique to that child. Then there's also continuous assessment, where the technology is continuously monitoring the learner's progress in real time to adapt the difficulty, the pathway, and the pace to meet the changing needs of the child. So it should always be learning and evolving as your child's knowledge progresses. Then there's mastery-based progression, which is when a child needs to demonstrate a certain level of understanding before progressing to more challenging concepts. So again, that's just helping to ensure that we're not jumping forward before the child has a real conceptual understanding of each subject. And then another key part of good adaptive technology is targeted interventions. So that is when the technology is able to identify specific areas with which a child is struggling and offer additional instruction and practice to support until the child gains mastery of that particular topic. And then the last, and this is so key for home educators, is real-time feedback and data. So this is the data that is providing you the insight that you need to make informed decisions about your child's ever-evolving educational needs, because adaptive technology is so powerful, but there is still nothing more powerful than your ability to understand exactly where your child is and to be able to support them in everything that they're learning.
That's really good. This is definitely revolutionary for homeschoolers, because if you compare this to typical book learning or just, your typical education model in the classroom, you have one textbook for one subject for 20, 25 children, and the teacher is going through that for the entire class. Yet adaptive technology can be used to be tailored to each individual child, which is key, like you mentioned, for home education, because our focus is our child. We're not educating in the classroom, we're educating a child. And I absolutely love that. And yesterday it was so funny. I ran into somebody who just doesn't quite understand home education, and I think it was maybe around noon. And I actually started homeschooling during the summer. We school year round, and she knew that, and she was like, "Oh, how long during the day do you homeschool?" And I said, "Yeah, we usually end around this time." She's like, "Wow, that's absolutely incredible." And I think it's hard for people to wrap their mind around that because they're used to the traditional school day. But when you have resources such as programs that have adaptive technology, you eliminate, so much, because you're, like you said, you're able to find out in real time what your child is learning. And the computer, the technology does all that work for you. And it just frees up so much time for the homeschool mom or dad or grandparent, whoever's teaching the child. And it allows for more time to do other things. And I just find that absolutely incredible, that the key points of education are being addressed, but it doesn't necessarily have to take as long. So that kind of leads into my next question. How can homeschooling families find the balance between online and offline learning?
Well, so that is such a big question. I I don't know that there's a formula for this. The balance is gonna be very different for every family, and I think there are certain things that well, there are factors that come into play, right? A child's age is a really big factor. You might be more comfortable having older children on technology than younger children. I personally am really concerned about one, finding the balance of screen time with my kids, but also wanting to make sure that they are digital natives in the same way that their peers are, so that they which is more to say I don't from a young age, I don't want to put them at a disadvantage where long term, they're not going to have the same depth of skill with technology that their peers might have and put them at a disadvantage in the job market, should that be where their path leads them.
Mm.
So, ultimately, I think finding the balance has a lot to do with what feels right for your family. And in homeschooling, there's so many resources out there, both digital and physical, online and offline, to help you strike that balance.
Absolutely. And the question that we are approaching today, that we're discussing, has to do with internet learning. Is it a good thing? And what are my options? And I would say that the answer would be a resounding yes, but we just need to learn, like you mentioned, that balance between online and offline learning. And like you mentioned, it's different for every family. And that's just the beauty of education, whether you're homeschool or whether you're helping your child after they're done with public school. It's different for every family. And I really believe online education can be an excellent choice in so many ways. I use it for certain subjects. It helps me as I homeschool my 5 children, that I can outsource, and with certain subjects, I can give my children that opportunity to use it. But I've chosen personally not to use it for every single subject. Some people have, and it's completely up to your family. Like I mentioned earlier, you could have an entire day done in just several hours using adaptive technology, using the different resources out there, but they still can have time in the afternoon, or whenever you homeschool, they can have time in the morning to do other activities that are not online. So there's just so much flexibility, and I love that. So as I mentioned, I have 5 kids, children of multiple ages, ranging, from, kindergarten all the way up to a senior in high school. I was wondering what you would find as the most beneficial aspect of online learning for parents with children of multiple ages.
So I don't know if it came through on your end, Heather, but there was like a ding from my computer. I got a notification that might interrupt your question. Do you wanna ask it again? There's a key from
Absolutely. So I was just mentioning how online education is an excellent choice for a parent with children of multiple ages who are looking to outsource certain subjects. What do you find is the most beneficial aspect of online learning?
So there are a few things. One is, like you, I like to have a mix of online and offline learning, and I don't like that mix to be super prescriptive. So one of the things that's really cool about online learning is using it to reinforce the lessons that I'm teaching my children offline. And that kind of goes both ways. My kids are still quite young. They're just over 4 years old. So I'm, more dipping a toe into the online learning aspect of things. But because my kids are twins, it's really cool to see them interact with education technology, where they're working on completely different activities at different paces. And yet, I see them grasping similar concepts in similar timeframes.
Mm.
And then, similar to how some of our offline learning plays into our online learning, with our online learning, um, I It's really amazing to see them utilize the skills on which they've been working online in the real world. Kind of blows my mind. And it's this constant reminder that they are capable of so much, honestly, certainly more than I give them credit for. And they are taking what they learn online and seamlessly transfer that knowledge into the world around them. And then conversely, taking what they're learning offline and utilizing those lessons in their or utilizing that understanding in their online learning as well. And it's so cool.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. And it's great that as a parent, you're able to see that and you're able to see the differences between the two children and what they're grasping. It's such an incredible opportunity.
It's amazing.
So I was wondering if you could share with us what you see or how you see the internet shaping how parents homeschool in this digital age.
I mean, we're already seeing, homeschool change insanely based off new technologies that are available. And it's a really amazing evolution. The technologies have made homeschooling so much more accessible to so many people. And so some of the ways that it allows us is it does create more freedom. It creates geographic freedom where you're able to not you don't necessarily have to be in your home to homeschool, right? There it's creating a community of travelers who are able to homeschool their kids and give them experiences all over the country or all over the world. And like you, it creates freedom within your day where you can say, I want to do, more traditional schooling for a couple hours in the morning. And then we have the rest of the day for, hands-on out in the real world activities and adventures. It creates more certainty, right? So like we were talking about learning gaps previously, it is able to give the home educator those insights to ensure that their child understands concepts before they get too far in advance. But also, it works the other way around where you don't waste time any longer going over a concept that your child has already mastered just to make sure that they know it. You have insight into the fact that, yes, they get this. They get it at a conceptual level and they can apply it to future learning. So that's really cool. It also exponentially expands the resources available to home educators, both in curriculum and just support tools for what you're doing, right? There's, like digital lesson planning and completely done lesson plans for offline learning. All of this stuff is available to you, where previously you may once a year have gone to a book fair and had to buy everything you're going to use for that year in one go. And if it wasn't the right thing for your family, you're kind of stuck with it. It allows for more child-led interests, right? As you see your child really engaging with a subject matter, you have the ability to go deeper and let that direct where your school day is going to go. And similarly, it allows for more in-depth exploration. So if your child is really excited about something, you can just continue building on that excitement and really find a ton of resources for different approaches and different ways to talk about whatever subject they're excited about. And then lastly, one of my favorite aspects of how the internet is changing homeschool is it's creating a broader community of homeschoolers. There are more ways to make connections with other homeschool families than ever before. There's more mentorship, there's more conversation, and it's making it more possible for more families to have the opportunity to homeschool their children. It makes it accessible for them just to have that community support, which I think is so beautiful.
You definitely hit the nail on the head with all of those points for sure. I mean, education is changing. homeschooling is changing and the digital options are absolutely a positive resource that can help families. And I love the fact that you mentioned a lot of times parents will, purchase their curriculum for the entire year and then they're stuck with what they don't want. And, that's a real problem. And a lot of families struggle with, they have to go try and resell on, secondhand sites, the material they don't want anymore, which I guess is good for the people looking for the secondhand materials. But it adds so much more stress and work. If you just want to spend time with your kids, educating them, having these tools and resources available absolutely changes the way that parents can teach their children and free up their time. And I just love the way you presented this. So many parents are now seeing that they can focus on the interests of their child. And that isn't something that I grew up with. I just went to school and learned what I was to learn and, pursued my interests in the few hours that I had each week. But to be able to really focus on those, even as a subject, because you have so much more time, just really can help develop our children to become who they are to become. And it just changes education in a tremendous way. So the final question I have for you, Cailin, what options do parents have who might be hesitant to have their child in front of a screen for extended periods?
So, to those parents, I say, you know what is best for your child. Maybe online learning does not have a place in your homeschool. For me, again, I'm concerned with creating that ideal balance of online and offline learning. And that was actually something we really considered when we were building Homeschool Plus. So we have, hundreds of offline lesson plans because there's a place for it all, I think. And if you see the value in online learning and you want to incorporate it into your homeschool, do it in a way which allows you to maintain control of what's important to you. So use programs that allow you to maintain control of the content. Don't look for something that's too prescriptive. That's not why we're homeschooling. It's not so that our programs can teach our children and so that we can teach our children. You can find programs that allow you to maintain the amount of time your child's on the screen. So if you're uncomfortable with it, but you want to incorporate it, just find things that allow you to have a lot of choice in how you're using it.
And I think a lot of homeschool parents, they have found that using a timer is a good trick. Maybe, their child's stressed out with math. So they'll say, okay, you can do math 20 minutes a day. Whether they get through the whole lesson, that's fine. We're just going to do it for 20 minutes a day. And I've had the pleasure to use Homeschool Plus with my youngest two. And my youngest, that is a feature that I found on Homeschool Plus, that for each subject, I can say how long they work on that per day. And it can absolutely help them not to feel stressed out. Of course, they love it. Anyway, they're not asking to stop doing math or reading because it's presented in such a fun way. But, that also can help parents who don't want their child in front of the screen too long, like you had mentioned. So I just love the thought that has gone into that program and just the other adaptive technology options that there has been thought put into it. And Cailin, I just appreciate everything that you have done for that company and for homeschoolers. And I just appreciate your time, your insight, and your suggestions that you've given to us today. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. I love homeschool, and I'm just so excited that I have the opportunity to support other homeschoolers on this journey.
Well, we absolutely appreciate it. And for everyone listening, for more on this topic, you can see the show notes over at homeschoolshow.com. You'll find links to Homeschool Plus, TOS articles, schoolhouseteachers.com resources, and courses as well. And I have some exciting news. The NAC is back. You can register your 12 through 18-year-old today for the annual opportunity for homeschooled students to put their college knowledge to the test on a national level. This is the National Academic Homeschool Competition brought to you by the Old Schoolhouse and College Options Foundation. All SchoolhouseTeachers.com members receive a 50% discount on the $110 registration fee for the NAC. So that means if you're a SchoolhouseTeachers.com member, you pay only $55. Obtain your code from your SchoolhouseTeachers.com member dashboard. Registration covers NAC Access, Total College Success Software, and 0 Hour Threat, which is an interactive game that preps students for the SAT and ACT. Visit NACregistration.com. That's NAHC registration.com. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes of the Hey Mama Homeschool Show. We will be hearing in October about how to reach your rebel's heart, raising boys and raising girls, and when should you teach foreign language and why. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Hey Mama Homeschool Show, and we'll see you next time. Bye.